Yes, copy. I can't say I do personally, but feel free to inform me. Ah. Okay, excellent. I'll make a note of that. Thank you. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. And for those who are watching around the world, wherever you are, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and welcome to TCR Europe Trophy. You should be either live on the TCR Series website, tcr-series.com, or on the Facebook feed or on YouTube. Wherever you're watching, thank you for tuning in. It's my first time doing TCR Europe this weekend, so if I make any bluffs, I'll apologise now. I've got a couple of areas to correct that I'll do in the broadcast, but apart from that, I'm excited, and I hope you guys are too. So getting ready for the live feed. So sit back and enjoy. Thank you. Hello everybody and welcome to Adria International Raceway in the northern region of Italy in Veneto for this, a very special occasion in the TCR calendar. This is the second TCR Europe Trophy. This is a very special competition where we'll see some of Europe's best drivers from around the national and regional series on the continent do battle to be crowned TCR Europe Trophy champion. Hello everybody, Scott Woodwiss here in the commentary box. You're seeing pictures there of both Marcello Lotti, the man behind TCR, and also Mauro Sipsa, who were one of the main people behind Alfa Romeo back in their glory days, and of course he is here to observe the Alfa Romeo in the mix. Well, this is what happened in qualifying, and you'll see we'll go through the grid as we go through, but this is Gabriele Tarquini in the Hyundai i30, taking the car's first ever pole position. Alongside him, the TCR Germany and Middle Eastern champion, Josh Files, in second place. Then his teammate for the weekend with target competition, Giacomo Altoe, in third place, with Luca Enxler, the young ace in the Liqui Volkswagen Golf, in fourth. We'll give you a proper rundown of the grid, but we've got 19 cars set to take the start. We should have, hopefully, Kevin Giacon in 13th place in the Dayglow Orange Technodome Opel Astra TCR. I did hear that this morning he did have a turbocharger problem, so that potentially could be off the grid. But as you can see, it's rather windy here at Adria International Raceway. But it has been getting warmer over the weekend. It started with a very chilly first practice, and the temperatures have gone up, the humidity has gone down, and that should hopefully help out. Now, that's quite significant because driving the wheel of this car is Justas Janosis. Now, he is a young Lithuanian driver, 15 years old, and he has an ambition to make it to TCR in the future, and hopefully the TCR International Series. And his father is actually the very enthusiastic promoter of TCR Baltic, which runs in countries like Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia. So here are the temperatures for the race weekend. 15 degrees air temperature, 17 degrees track temperature, and 67 degrees humidity. So it has been warmer in certain TCR races, but it should make for a bit of a chill. But very calm and comfortable temperatures here at Adria for this first race of the weekend here this afternoon. As the drivers get ready on the grid, plenty of activity down there with all the team personnel. And here are the drivers to watch out for. Kevin Giacon, Aurélien Comte in the Peugeot, Luca Enxler in one of two Liqui Volkswagens. And then we've got Francisco Brayer from TCR Iberico and Portugal, Antti Buri in the TCR Germany Audi, and then both of the Altoes, Giacomo and Giovanni, and of course the maestro of touring cars, Gabriele Tarquini in the Hyundai. Also Florian Thoma in that second Liqui Enxler car, Plamen Kralev, who's been campaigning in TCR Italy, as well towards the bottom, two more notable names, Maxime Putti, who has been successful in TCR Benelux, and of course Josh Files, the Brit. Now, whilst we're in a gap between this, I should correct a couple of errors that I've made over the weekend. I have to admit, it's my first time covering TCR ever, as we see our pole sitter, Gabriele Tarquini, in the brand new Hyundai i30. A couple of errors. One, I mentioned that Adria is an hour north of Venice. It's actually an hour south of Venice, but I was never good at geography, so there you go. The other one is that I made quite a fatal error when I called Giovanni Altoe Giacomo's father. He's actually his brother, so I apologise for that, but we've now got that right, and that shouldn't be a problem going forwards. Now, we should point out, in the drivers' points here, Josh Files leads with 10 points, Giacomo Altoe with 9, Franz Enxler with 8, Luigi Ferrara in the Alfa Romeo with 6, and Maxime Putti with 6, also in joint 4th. Now, you might be asking, why have these guys got points already? Well, I'll tell you, it's simple. Drivers, about 13 of the drivers on the grid had at least 4 points from scoring a point from each of up to 5 rounds they were able to qualify for with Europe. So they got a point for each. Plus also the top 5 from the overall qualifying result get points from 5 down to 1. Now, one driver that doesn't get points this weekend is pole sitter Gabriele Tarquini, because the Hyundai is under a temporary homologation, so it's not fully homologated, and because of that, it is seen as transparent in the points. So this man, Josh Files, managed to pick up the full 5 points for effectively his pole position in the cars that are able to score points. So there's a fantastic range of different nationalities raced here. Of course, we've got British, French, German, Belgian, Italian. We've got a Portuguese driver, a couple of Finns, a couple of Russians in there too, and a Bulgarian. A great range of mix in terms of nationalities represented and also of makes represented as well. 8 different manufacturers on the grid, as we see Giacomo Altoe, who will start from 3rd on the 2nd row of the grid, and he effectively gets the points for what would have been P2 in qualifying. He's been strong all weekend so far. He was fastest in free practice 1, and he's been up in the top 3 in the rest of the sessions in free practice 2 and around in qualifying also. Here's another man that could be a dark horse. This is Francisco Abreu. He's wrong car. It's actually Luca Enxler in 4th place. My apologies. He has been the top rookie in ADAC TCR Germany and also finished 12th in the overall standings. And he's got German F4 experience behind him as well. And of course, he is the son of Franz Enxler, long-time touring car supporter, and has raced at many different levels, mainly with Liquimoli sponsorship. So that's a long-time deal for them. So the grid continuing to be a hive of activity down here as the TCR Europe grid girls leave the grid. And it's great to see that TCR is continuing to grow in prominence around the world, and particularly in Europe. And of course, so many different championships that qualify. You've got the Italian, German, Iberico and Portuguese. You've got Scandinavian, you've got the Russian Championship, Baltic, and of course as well, any drivers that qualified through some of the endurance championships as well, or the endurance classes and other championships for TCR are also welcome here. And this time next year, we'll also have drivers hopefully from TCR UK, because that is joining up in 2018. That is certainly in full flow, and I know for a fact that Jenny Muritzing, who is the championship manager for TCR UK, is here this weekend on a little bit of a fact-finding mission for next season. Here's Luigi Ferrara, P5 on the grid in the Alfa Romeo. He's been a bit of a hotshot this weekend, and he has a vast amount of experience, does Luigi. He's raced in several touring car and GT events throughout his career, and it's good to see him up there using all of that experience. He has also competed before in TCR in the Subaru, and we were due to have a Subaru here this weekend, run by the Top Run Motorsport outfit. And drivers like Giacomo Altoe and even the double TCR International champion Stefano Camini and also Alain Menu have driven that car, but sadly was not able to be here this weekend. Here's Maxime Putti, 6th on the grid on row 3. He's a young driver from TCR Benelux, and he will be one to keep an eye on himself. He's a former Belgian X30 junior karting champion. He's won at CIK FIA karting level, and he was third in the TCR Benelux Championship the past 2 years and has scored a win in each. So a very capable young driver on the grid to look out for. So other drivers down the grid, you can see, of course, pole position being on the left-hand side as the personnel leave the grid. And what's going to be crucial here is obviously it's not just the drivers but also the teams as well, as we look at Antti Buri, 7th on the grid from TCR Germany, who scored 1 win this year and has been 8th in the standings in 2017, and somebody that a certain Josh Files knows very well, as those two have been competing in the same championship this season and last year also. So we should also explain the Teams Championship. In terms of the points that you score as drivers and teams, you get 25 points for a win, 18 points for 2nd, 15 for 3rd, 12 for 4th place, and 10 for 5th place. They're going down, you get 8, 6th, 4, 2, and 1 points for 6th down to 10th. Here's Francisco Abreu. He is TCR Iberico champion and second in the Portuguese championship as well, and one of the faster golfs in the mix as well, starting from 8th on the grid. So the tension will be rising here, and the question has to be, can this man, Gabriele Tarquini, take Hyundai's second TCR victory? Because believe it or not, on the car's debut at the Zhejiang circuit in China in the International Series, both Tarquini and Alain Menu, who are the key development drivers for that car, they went out to China. Their plan was to contest the last 2 rounds of the TCR International Series, and it really did appear with a bang, as they started back on the 7th row of the grid, and Tarquini drove through from about 14th on the grid to win. So here's confirmation of the starting grid then. It's Gabriele Tarquini and Josh Files on the front row of the grid. Giacomo Altoe and Luca Engsler on row 2. Luigi Ferrara and Maxime Putti on row 3, ahead of Antti Buri and Francisco Abreu on row 4. Rounding out the top 10 is Aurélien Comte in the Peugeot and Florian Thomas in the second Lukomoli Engsler Volkswagen Golf. Plamen Kralev of Bulgaria and Giovanni Altoe, brother of Giacomo, starts on row 6. And then Kevin Giacon looks as though I think he may well start with next alongside Lev Tolkachev. Then we have Oli Kangas and Denis Grigoriev with Sandro Palati, Dionisia Armano and Daniele Caparari rounding up the 19 cars. The only car that didn't actually make it out was Giovanni Berton in qualifying yesterday. He was one of the 2 silver DSG Audis. We should mention DSG. We see a shot of double TCR International champion. That is Stefano Camini. Good to see him here. I know he's here with Target Competition, as the drivers get the 30-second board before they're released onto their warm-up lap. There is a separate competition for DSG cars in the mix. Now, looking down the grid, I don't think actually, unfortunately, that Kevin Giacon has made the start. I can't see the Dayglow Technodom Opel Astra, which is a shame. So we'll get 18 cars starting here for this first race. And fingers crossed they can fix that turbocharger problem before they come out for race 1. So everyone looks to be back in position. There is Giacomo Altoe in 3rd place. Are the Hondas going to be able to overhaul that man on the left, Gabriele Tarquini, as the drivers get the green flag and they head off on their formation lap here around the 1.6-mile circuit, 2.7 kilometres. There are already 8 major corners on this circuit, and Adria International Raceway has hosted many major GT and touring car events. And it is also a round of TCR Italy, and I know that earlier on in the year when they came here, the Italian series had to face torrential rain and awful conditions, but thankfully it's much clearer and it's set to get a little bit warmer as the weekend goes on. So who are going to be the main contenders to watch out for as they head down the back straight? A lot of dust and gravel being kicked up, I think, by 1 or 2 of the support championships, and a little bit of the wind that's being kicked up here. But of course, those drivers that start on the first 3 rows have to be in contention for a podium at least. Drivers a little bit down the order. Potentially you have to look also at Francisco Abreu and Antti Buri. Aurélien Comte has won races in the endurance and Benelux categories. So that Peugeot very competent, and there is of course the new 308 TCR coming next year, but the Racing Cup car has been set with balance of performance to be as quick as any of the other cars in the mix as well. I'm also going to watch for the progress of Plamen Kralev as well. He's a driver who's been pretty prominent in TCR Italy, and he's got a lot of experience. He's raced in Formula 2, he's even raced in the GP2 Asia series, so lots of single-seater experience. He's come to touring cars, and he finished 5th in the TCR Italy standings this year. So that Audi's got a lot of prominence and a lot of pedigree in the mix. So the anticipation is rising here at Adria International Raceway, with the first of 2 races getting underway. We're set for 25 minutes plus 1 lap. That should equate to roughly around 23 laps. And as they make their way up towards the grid, it is the distinctive sort of almost lilac-coloured and red Hyundai i30 TCR of Gabriele Tarquini. Can he potentially take a lights to flag victory? But will the likes of Josh Files and Giacomo Altoe have anything to say about that? So Tarquini bunching the field up here. Everyone will have been weaving from side to side to keep the tyre temperatures and tyre pressures and brakes temperatures all up as much as possible. And of course they want to make sure that the car is in as prime condition as they can get it before the race begins. It's a 25-minute race. Anything can happen. Of course, this is TCR. We've seen some fantastic races this year. And hopefully, for these guys that at least are ending their European season, could be a cracker also. Cars form up on the grid one by one. Gabriele Tarquini will be on the left of shot in the Hyundai, and alongside him on the right will be Josh Files in the blue, black and white target competition Honda Civic. The last few cars coming into position, and then we're getting set. Tension is mounting, nerves are rising, but this is the moment they've all been waiting for. Last couple of cars are in position. The green flag flies at the back. Revs will rise. We're set to get race one of the 2017 TCR Europe Trophy underway. Tarquini on the left, Files on the right. It's the run down to turn one that will be key. Red lights up, revs rise, lights out, and let's go racing at Adria. Great start for the first few cars. There are a couple of stallers. Ollie Kangas and Plamen Kralov get poor starts away, but it's three abreast into turn one as Files takes the inside line. Altori looks to go round the outside. Tarquini holds his line, but he goes down too wide, and Files gets his nose up the inside, and Josh Files leads on the exit of turn one down the pit back straight. Now the run down towards turn two. Tarquini having to take the outside line. He's still challenging for the leads. He comes down towards the braking zone. It'll open out. I can see also that Antti Brewery's made a great start, I think, in the end. He's up to fourth already. That's a superb launch from eighth on the grid. So Antti Brewery is going for P4, side by side with Luigi Ferrara in the Alfa Romeo. Aurelian Comps had a superb getaway too. He started back in 10th, or 9th, I should say, on the grid. So those cars have moved up pretty well. The poor starts have been Maxime Putty and also Luca Engstler, who's going side by side with his teammate Florian Toma into the chicane of 4 and 5. It's Files, Tarquini, then Giacomo Altoe, Ferrara in 4th place in the Alfa Romeo, followed by Aurelian Comte, then Antti Brewery and Maxime Putty as they come towards the end of the first lap. So Josh Files after it as one of the Engstler cars off wide. It looks to me that's Florian Toma. One of the DSG cars, the Seat, but across the line for the first time, it's Files from lead by almost 6/10 of a second from Giacomo Altoe, Giacomo Tarquini in second place, Altoe in third, then Ferrara, Cox, Brewery, Rossi, then Toma, Luca Engstler down to 9th on the start. This is first run through. In the Seat towards the back of the field. So now the crucial thing is going to be what can Josh Files do here to try and pull away from the legend that is Gary. That's the way I have to go to the pace. Now, wearing the Gary Brewery in the Dago yellow and blue Audi having to defend now from a trio of Volkswagens led by Maxime Putty in the WRT run machine. Same team that runs the Leopard Volkswagens. Ready, Ferrara trying to escape with them. Turn 6, turn 7. Minus now, first and third is together. Out. Turn the cars around. The larger the cars fight each other, the easier it's going to be for the top three to start taking the break. Blocks the inside front, defending from Giovanni Altoe as they come to end the second lap, and there's no real change in the order so far. Files has only managed to get the gap out by about 10 So come on, Florian, put your foot down. But those two certainly getting in amongst each other. That's turn 3. Still no change in the order. Antti Brewery doing well to defend. This is great. You get some drivers that may not have raced against each other at some point. Here's a view of the start. Now, it was a pretty good getaway from the equal launch, and Josh Files did say yesterday he wants to make his typical good start. He did so on the inside line, took that run into turn 1. Altoe tried to go through and make it 3 wide, but he got edged out on the outside of the track, and Tarquini slotted into P2. Here's the aerial shot. Some wheel spin from Luigi Ferrara from P3, and you can see that both Plamen Kralov in the red Audi and Ollie Kangas in the yellow Seat got into it. Here's further back. Oops! That's Denis Grigoriev, and that's him duplicating his spin after he did back in practice. And that is Stefano Camini watching on and getting very animated about things. So Tarquini then has got the gap down with the fastest lap of the race. He's pumped in a 1:20.367, and you can just sense that Tarquini's not content with staying in second place. He wants the win, but so does the double TCR Germany champion and Middle Eastern champion for TCR 2017, Josh Files. He's also a former Renault Clio Cup UK champion. Of course, this is a very intense battle here, and Giacomo Altoe doing a fantastic job. This is only his first proper full year in touring car racing, and keeping up with two multiple champions in the field as they come back into turns 4 and 5. Very finicky right-left chicane. We've got a message on the screen. Car 30 is under investigation. That's Gabriele Tarquini. Now then, that's his start under investigation. Now, possibly didn't jump the start. I didn't see anything that looked too obvious, but we'll have to wait and see what the stewards mentioned about that one. If he did jump it, he possibly could get a penalty, but let's wait until the decision rather than speculate. So, top three breaking away already. You can see in the background that Luigi Ferrara is holding on in 4th place, but he's causing a bit of a traffic jam behind him in a good way, because he's got Compt in the mix as Tarquini moves out of the slipstream to put himself into Josh Files' mirrors, just to let him know he's still there. Back into turn 1. Well, a couple of corners in the first part of the lap, sort of very early apex, and they open out wide so you can get on the bottom a little bit easier. That's how they would have set these cars up. It's a bit of a tricky section as Files sweeps across and denies Tarquini a look around the outside. Leading the race. This first race of the weekend for the TCR Europe Trophy. And already it is Josh Files and Giacomo Altoe providing a Honda sandwich for pole sitter Gabriele Tarquini. There's Ferrara from Compt, but Anti-Buri, the Finn in the yellow and blue Audi, still being harassed by the trio of the cars of so far. He's dropped 5 spots off the start and hasn't made any progress. Is keeping under pressure, so see though, we've got 5 different makes of TCR cars. Turns 4 and 5 into turn 6. Steady, so Tarquini is doing his best to avoid them. Pressure, and all of this certainly is designed to try and make Tarquini being someone as experienced as he is. As we see on the screen, I've got on my time on screen that he's been given a drive-through penalty. That must be for the investigation for track limits. So unfortunately, 4th place in the Alfa Romeo. He will start to tumble down the order. That's the stewards' decision. He has to go with it. So we'll see a change on the screen also. A change for the ninth position because Francisco Brayer has got past Luca Engster in the background. You can see that the change around the order. There is confirmation on the screen. Sport competition with Peugeot 308. This is the replay. This is the side by side with Luca Engster. Just breezes by the young German. Great one off the final. Plenty of traction. He's just going to say, thank you very much, Luca. Don't mind if I do. Already coming up to 10 minutes gone in this first race of the weekend for the TCR Europe Trophy. So far, the contest is between 2 Target Competition holders sandwiching the BRC Racing factory effort from the Hyundai with the gap across the line this time. It's opening now slightly to almost 7/10 of a second. So far, Tarquini has no answer at this point in time, but maybe he's just biding his time. He's done this dance thousands of times. He knows what it takes to win a race, and he didn't win a championship, so don't count him out just yet. He might just be keeping his powder dry for a moment and then producing the final opportunity to attack. Ferrara hasn't come in yet for his stop and go penalty, for his drive-through penalty. So he's still technically comfortably in fourth place, in net fourth position. In this battle of what will become fifth. Between Antti and young Swiss driver for Thomas. He's also a race winner. It's a very surprising race win. At Oschersleben in TCR Germany early in the year. He's certainly someone also to look out for the future. There's plenty of great young drivers taken to TCR, and it's good to see that the next generation of touring car stars is being bred here in the regional, national and international TCR competitions. So top three still as it was. They're all three of them covered by about 1.2 seconds here as they come into the final couple of corners. This will be to end lap 8. And they'll come across the line still together, and pretty much it's a static gap. They're all lapping pretty much exactly the same. In fact, the difference in the times in terms of lap time was only 1/10 of a second between the three of them. So there's not really that much to choose from. And then behind them, Ferrara and Comte are at least a couple of tenths off what's happening here. I mean, Ferrara right now, behind the leader, is 9 seconds back to the man in front, Josh Files. And of course, he still has to take that driving penalty. Now it's Tarquini, looking to try and capitalise on Hyundai's first ever pole position in TCR. And of course, remember, that car is under temporary homologation, so it may be running in second place, but it won't score the points for second place because you get 25 for a win, 18 for second, 15 for third, and it's all the way down to you get 10th place, which is 1 point. And I have to say on this lap that Files has pulled away ever so slightly, so Altoe is doing well to keep with, but Files is just using that clear air to his advantage and his momentum to keep Tarquini at bay. The gap across the line you can see at the bottom of your screen. Just about 7 seconds. Altoe inside the third and 10th behind. Now, Luigi Ferrara has to come up pretty short on this lap as he locks up into turn 7. Still being chased down by Brayer. In 5th position. And yes, Ferrara does come into the pits. You can see him in the background as the top three head down into turn 1 once again. And while Ferrara may not, he may be kicking himself, but that's the ruling by the stewards. He has to respect it. So still all together. Files, Tarquini, Altoe, first, second and third. Top three still covered by a fraction under 1.5 seconds. So this battle is not letting up anytime soon. And Files looks to have a little bit more traction off the corner there from turn 2. But the trio continue to run pretty much in close proximity. As we get confirmation that Ferrara has completed the drive-through, so we'll say no more about it. And he's cocking a rear wheel, is Josh Files. You can see how rustically sprung these TCR machines are. Come back into the left-hander of turn 6. Lots of leaves and dust that's been kicked up by the wind, and also the support series that have been racing this morning. There's plenty of rubber out there, so lots of grip. And these three are using it to their advantage. Now this is a replay, and that is Giovanni Altoe, brother of Giacomo, diving up the inside of what I think possibly could be an ailing Luca Enxler. So he said he was struggling back in 9th place. He's dropped to the bottom of the top 10 now, having been passed by Giovanni. Giovanni also comfortably the leading DSG car, and he will get a separate trophy for that. So now we look at the battle behind for P4. There's Aurélien Comte in the Peugeot 308 Racing Cup. Then we have the trap that's still pretty much as it was between Burri and Putty. Looking at their lap times last time, well, Burri and Putty couldn't be that much closer. Their lap time separated by 1/1000th of a second. And Burri was the fraction quicker. Now then, Giovanni Altoe, we know his father owns the circuit, but he's certainly making the most of this opportunity as he's right on the rear wing of Francisco Abreu, the Iberico champion. Oh, a big lock-up on the outside front right from Brayer that puts him wide. Altoe dives up the inside and said, well, if you're going to make it that easy, Francisco, then I'll just take it any day of the week. But Francisco's not letting it go just yet. Back up the inside for turn 3, a little bit squirming under braking. Giovanni will try to hold on around the outside, but there's no room at the end, and Francisco is back up to 9th position. That could be a battle that goes through. Meanwhile, Putti is giving Bury what for, with Thomas in close proximity. And you have to say also, look at Luca Engstler. He's not too far away either. We thought he'd drop back a little bit. And this is the replay, just over the curb. It just locked the outside front. But it's a little too deep on the exit of turn 2. And as the corner opened out, Giovanni took the invitation. But the momentum off the corner happened to be good enough for Francisco to hold the inside line and get back through at turn 3 for 9th place. So still no change in the top 3. The gap is still about 1.5 seconds as the Target Competition team avidly watch from the pit wall, but it's still Honda from Hyundai from Honda as they turn out of turn 2. Now what's also clear as well is that Aurélien Comte is using all of his experience to pull away. Now we've got a warning flag for 2 drivers. That's for cars 8 and 11. And that is going out to Luca Engstler and Francisco Abreu, and that is for track limits also. So if they're not careful, they could possibly get themselves a penalty under the eye of the stewards. As the battle between Abreu and Altoe continues on. There's Camini eagerly watching. I'm sure he would dearly love to be. And I see one of the Luca Engstler, one of the Engstler cars is slowing. Is that possibly Luca Engstler that's in trouble in the background? I spotted one of the Liqui Moly cars going very slowly out of turn 2. Hopefully we'll get a camera shot of that in a minute as we see now Giovanni Altoe looking to the outside to attack Francisco Abreu into the chicane of 4 and 5. But the Iberico champion is not to be intimidated on this occasion. And also not far behind, intriguingly, there is Luigi Ferrara. He's now come back out after his penalty, and he is currently holding in P10. And, has Abreu gone too what he has? He went too deep into the corner. I wondered where he disappeared to, but just simply went way too deep into turn 7. And that was all the invitation, again, that Altoe needed. And there, I'm afraid, is Luca Engstler on replay, and that is a technical problem for the Liqui Moly Engstler Volkswagen. So that's not the way he'll want to end his first race. Back at the front, we have now got just over 8 minutes to go in this first race, plus 1 lap. And it is still a deadlock between Josh Files, Gabriele Tarquini, and Giacomo Altoe in the top 3. They have pulled away by the tune of about 14 to 15 seconds from anyone else because Aurélien Comte holds on to P4, and he himself holds about a 3-second advantage over the scrap for 5th, but continues to rage between Antti Bury and Maxime Putti for the last top 5 spot. Back into turn 7. There is Gabriele Tarquini, successful at German, Italian, European, British and World Championship level in touring cars. He's also a former Formula 1 driver and did score a best result of 6th one time as well, so he can handle pretty much anything that's given to him. Now here's something interesting. Luigi Ferrara on the comeback is now hunting down Francisco Abreu as Luca Engstler, I'm afraid, brings the number 8 Volkswagen into the pit lane. That looks to be a technical problem they will have to try and solve the issue for before the start of race 2. And a replay here, and this is what happened off camera just now. That's Abreu again going a little bit too wide, and Ferrara went trying to go diving up the inside. And they did go toe-to-toe into turn 3, but Abreu said, not in your life, sunshine. And Luigi has to sit behind and remain in P10. So Luca Engstler, I'm afraid, getting out of the car. As we continue to watch that battle for the lead. Well, they're putting the steering wheel back on, so whatever the issue might have been, they may be getting him back out. But it's going to be a hard ask to get the points as Luigi Ferrara does make the move. That was on the exit of turn 1. And he's now moved that back to P9. Let's see if Abreu has any possible response. Not too far away from them is Sandro Pelati, the second of DSG cars. Another of those DSG cars is in the pit lane. That looks to be Daniele Caparari in the number 76 Seat. And that looks to me as if that's a right front puncture. This is the move from Ferrara up the inside. And that was textbook. Under brakes, up the inside. Abreu left the room. They both gave each other racing space. That's clever driving from both. But the Ferrara is the one that's in front, up to 9th position on the comeback. 6 minutes on the clock left in race 1 of the TCR Europe Trophy. And there is still no moving between Files, Tarquini and Altoe. So Josh Files, proving that he's not a double TCR Germany champion and current TCR Middle Eastern champion for nothing, regardless of who's behind him. But even so, this is great work from the Hyundai team. Of course, they've chosen the best possible environment. Rather than pounding around doing laps on your own, the best way to do things is in a competitive environment. And there, I'm afraid, is what's left of the wheel, the deflated wheel and tyre of Daniele Capillari in the pits. Not the way he wanted to start his weekend here on the TCR Europe Trophies. And he's been wheeled back to the garage. And that's going to take some effort to fix that one. Brayer and Putty still battling over P5. So it looks as though we've got a couple of stalemates here in the mix, but surely they'll have to watch. And Brayer's not totally comfortable going to the racing line. He knows he has to defend up towards turn 3 because Putty will take any chance he's got. And lap time last time around it's disappeared on my screen because of course they're on sector times at the moment, so I'll see what the lap time is. And now then, car 11, which is Francisco Abreu, that's the Iberico champion, drive-through penalty, and that's for not respecting track limits. So just like Ferrara, he will have to come down pit lane on the pit limiter and serve his penalty, and that will mean he'll drop out of the top 10 and he won't not score any points unless something dramatic happens. So 4.5 minutes left on the clock as Brayer and Putty come up towards the end of a lap, still in close combat. Audi versus Volkswagen, Finland versus Belgium. Who's going to win out here? Brayer's vastly experienced as well. He's a former Formula Ford champion, Formula Ford Festival winner, and also he's been a champion at Porsche level, racing Porsches in Finland. It's good to see him making the step up into touring cars. And Luigi Ferrara is also making good progress. He is now starting to close in on the leading DSG car, as we see Francisco Abreu under attack from Sandro Pilati, making a dive up the inside. And again, just like Ferrara did. Oh, and that was a bit naughty from Pilati, I think. He just about gave him enough room, but cut across the nose. And had to basically force Abreu to back out of that. But there was no contact, so that seemed to be pretty fair. Back up into turn 2. Abreu's race, I'm afraid, he's going from bad to worse, because of course he still has to serve that drive-through penalty. Only a few more laps to go. As the cars are lapping at about 1 minute 20, 1 minute 21s, I would anticipate that we've got about possibly 3 or 4 more laps to go. And you can notice now the gap between first and second has grown out to 1.1. So Tarquini's ability to keep up with Josh Files possibly could be fading just a tiny bit. But Giacomo Altoe is there to pounce if his Italian compatriot makes any mistakes. Here's a good battle towards the bottom of the field. This is over 14th place. This is Oli Kangas, who has just got through past Plamen Kralev. So that move has happened pretty recently. Also, there's a scrap in front between Hermano Dionisio and looks to be Lem Tolkachev. I've got a replay here, and look at that. Beautiful dummy up the inside. Or at least he tried to dummy, forced Kralev wide on the inside, and then Kangas took the open space and through he went. So that was a pretty key pass for Oli. As we watch for our leaders, as Josh Files continues to extend that advantage at the front. Tarquini, then Altoe bumping over the curbs. Altoe, in fact, this is not the only TCR car he's driven this season. He's actually driven 5, which is more than anyone else in the order. He's driven not only the Honda, but the Volkswagen, the Audi, the Alfa Romeo, and indeed the Subaru that was due to be here this weekend. But unfortunately, they were not able to bring the car. I believe there are people from Top Run Motorsport here this weekend just observing what's happening, but no car at Subaru, I'm afraid. There's white flags out for, I think, a slow car as they come back across the line to complete the lap. And we're now on to lap 18 of this first race of the weekend, and that is Francisco Abreu that has stopped, looks to me, at the end of turn 3. Now, either he's outbraked himself or that's a mechanical issue, but he's reversing back on track on the runoff area. And we'll look at the result here, and what's happened here. Oh, and he locked that right front again. He's just gone straight on. So couldn't make the corner, and maybe he was looking in his mirrors a little bit too much because the presence of Kangas and Kralev possibly put him off. And Luca Enxler has made it back out on track. You can see he's way down the order in the last of the car still running back in 18th. I think he's just going out there to double check that all the systems are working okay and just get the car to the finish. As we head towards the final minute of regular time, remember, I think when they cross the line, they'll get this lap and then the end of the next one. I think there'll be 3 more, I think, but I think they should cross the line before the timer runs out. And they'll get 3 more chances. And I have to wonder is Gabriele Tarquini's second place safe as Francisco Abreu heads to the pit lane to serve his drive-through penalty? Or does Giacomo Altoe have the possibility to make this, on the road at least, a target competition Honda 1-2? There is Abreu. He's had a very character-building first race, I think is the kindest way to put that. So less than 30 seconds on the clock, so we will get 2 more laps of this race. Small lock-up from Tarquini into turn 1. A little wide on the exit, but he's got better traction, it seems, so Altoe couldn't really live with him on the exit. So I wonder possibly if Tarquini is just playing it safe, just keeping one eye on the mirrors as he looks towards the apex, as does Giacomo Altoe. Tighter run on the exit of the corner from the Honda, but Tarquini prefers that wider line. Just a quick check-in for the rest of the top 10 as the timer has counted down to 0, so that will be the last lap next time around. Aurelian Comte is there. We've got a replay here of Tolkachev and Kangas in the 2 Seats. Oh, and that's very clenching bit of contact. So I think Tolkachev didn't realise Kangas was going to dive up the inside too much on the exit of turns 4 and 5, and Tolkachev went to shut the door. This time he possibly can't do it too much, as Tolkachev has to try and defend, and also watch for Plamen Kralev in the mix too. Kangas runs a little wide. Tolkachev takes the tighter run off the corner, as Kralev is in there too. Meanwhile, back with the leaders, and I think Altoe is possibly going to shape up for a move here on the last lap. Onto the last lap of the race here at Adria International Raceway. And Josh Files leads the way. The gap is now 2 seconds, with Tarquini only 0.4 ahead of Altoe as they head over the marbles and the rubber on the outside of the circuit that's been coming off the tyres here. It's been a pretty intriguing first race, but so far Josh Files has really been showing his class here, as has Tarquini, proving that in the right hands the Hyundai is a very competitive car. And of course they will continue their development throughout this weekend, and then in the International Championship in Dubai, when Tarquini and Alain Menu will race in the final rounds of the International Series. But for now, he's having to hold on to second place. And remember, he won't score any points. He'll be transparent in the point scoring. So effectively, in terms of points, it is a perfect target competition 1-2, but on the road, no one wants to finish behind anyone. So Altoe may be running out of options here in the last couple of corners. And it's been a pretty stellar effort from Tarquini, holding on. Altoe will try and push him the last few turns, but his opportunities are running out thick and fast. A small lock-up from Tarquini again. Could be pretty close, but this man from the front row of the grid made the start he wanted, and he's taking one step closer to becoming the European champion. Out the final corner, a brilliant drive from the front row of the grid. Josh Files wins race 1 at Adria in the TCR Europe Trophy, flashes the headlights in celebration. Tarquini takes second place, and Giacomo Altoe will finish in third. Target competition, as you'd expect, absolutely delighted with that. And again, remember, that will be maximum points for their team's total. And what it then means is it will be a contest between, really, Files and Altoe, depending on what happens in race 2. Here come towards the line is Aurelian Comte, a superb 4th place for the Peugeot. Following him home is Luca Engstler, a lap down, and then Antti Burri comes home in 5th, ahead of Maxime Putti. Florian Thomas flashes the headlights with 7th. Giovanni Altoe, Giacomo's brother, comes home in 8th as the highest placed DSG car, so he wins the race in that contest. Luigi Ferrara comes home in 9th after his drive-through penalty. Sandro Pilati in 10th. But there, I'm sure, is a very happy Josh Files. He takes the maximum 25 points, and of course he is now one step closer to adding the TCR Europe Trophy title to his existing German and Middle East accolades. So very close at the front 3. This is on the last lap here. It seems to Tolkachev and Kangas, and that didn't end well. Contact between the pair of them. Tolkachev gets dumped out wide, and he has to try and make the flag now behind both Kangas and Plamen Kralev. So we'll wait and see what the stewards have to say about that one. But as the cars head into their slow down lap, Josh Files just taking it in, picking up all the rubber they can. They'll move to the inside of the circuit to pick up all the marbles and the rubber, just to make sure that the car definitely does pass any scrutineering and weight checks they may have to go through. But what about this man, Gabriele Tarquini? Started on pole and has taken another superb result for the Hyundai team. Of course, they may have wanted the victory on the road, but they'll be very happy with that. Thumbs up from Yas Motorsport, of course, the builders and suppliers of the Civic TCR. And of course, there'll be a new edition coming next year, which is in the paddock here at Adria, as the cars make their way in. And of course you see Giacomo Altoe just going wider to pick up that rubber that's been dropped as he comes through. He'll be very happy with third on the podium, but of course he'll get those points in second place. And Aurélien Comte will pick up the points for third. And you have to say that after the fact that the 308 TCR is coming through next year, the proper fully fledged TCR machine, not just the adapted cup car, which is still very competitive on balance of performance, and that possibly could be a very good omen for them. So the top three being stopped underneath the podium, and we're waiting now for Josh Files to make it through because he's savouring the moment. This is what he wanted. He wanted to try and get the victory, and just confirmation that cars 4 and 15, that of course is Oli Kangas and Lev Tolkachev, are under investigation by the stewards. But Josh Files points to the air, P1, as he heads into his slot in the top three, stops at the number 1 board marker, undoes the belts, and I suspect there's going to be an outburst of celebration in a few moments' time, as it will be from the type competition boys. I think he's happy with that, and no wonder. Superb drive for Josh Files, got the start he wanted, took the lead at turn 1, and despite pressure from his teammate and from Tarquini, he gets the victory, and he embraces the team. Of course, he normally runs with Pyro Motorsport, so he does run with a Honda Civic. He knows the car inside out, maybe not that exact car, but personnel from Yas Motorsport also very happy with that, and also races with, that looks to be Giacomo Altoe, yeah, so that's his teammate for the weekend, posing for the photographs. And of course that will mean that he will start from 10th on the grid for the second race, because the second race will see the top 10 reversed, which means that if that's correct, then we'll have a front row, interesting enough, of Pilati and Ferrara. Here's the confirmation of the result then. Josh Files wins by almost 2 seconds from Gabriele Tarquini in the Hyundai. Giacomo Altoe rounds out the top 3 with Aurélien Comte in 4th. Anti-Bury held off Maxime Putti in 5th position with Florian Thom at 7th. Giovanni Altoe is first DSG gearbox car home in 8th from Luigi Ferrara after his penalty, and Sandro Pilati should start 10th. Pole position after finishing 10th. Hermano Dionisio 11th, Oli Kangas 12th, who's under investigation, with Palaman Kralov 13th. Lev Tolkachev had contact on the last lap. There's Grigoriev 15th, and then Abreu after his drive-through, Capolari, who did not finish, and then Luca Engsler rounds out the cars on the result. I don't think Gabriele's too displeased with second place, but still, this is ready for them, more of a well-publicised test session to gain more and more data before the car's proper homologation for the 2018 season. But there is Josh Files. And there's a kiss to the camera. And you have to wonder, what can he do from 10th on the grid? Well, here's how the drivers' points sit then. It's Josh Files with 35 points, with Giacomo Altoe 8 points back with 27. Aurélien Comte is up to 3rd, with Anti-Bury 4th. Maxime Putti is 5th from Thoma, Ferrara, Engsler, Giovanni Altoe, and Abreu in P10 with 5 points at the bottom of the table. And as we scroll through to the rest of the order in a moment's time, we've got Capolari, Giacon, Grigoriev, Kansas, Kralev, Tolkachev, Pilati, and Dionisio, the only point scorers. Berton not here this weekend, and Tarquini is transparent from scoring any points. So, a very intriguing and interesting first race here for the TCR Europe Trophy, and I'm sure the second race is going to be even more action-packed, with the fact that we will have a reverse grid for the first 10 cars. And what possibly could Giacomo Altoe do now that he starts ahead of his teammate and also ahead of Tarquini? He could be a dark horse. But I think possibly one of the other drivers to watch out for has to be Luigi Ferrara, because of course he starts on the front row of the grid. He was up there in 4th place before his drive-through, which means now he starts on the front row for race 2. He could get the whole shot down towards turn 1, and if he can pull a gap quick enough, there is a real chance that he could start to pull away and get himself some very solid points towards his tally in the driver's total. And of course, remember, as we said, it will be maximum point score for target competition in the Teams Championship. And I'm sure Giovanni Altoe will also be very happy that he came home as highest DSG gearboxed car. There was a separate contest for them. So everyone just taking in that first result. And I'm sure the cars will be worked on through the break, and they'll be back out in a couple of hours' time to settle who will be the TCR Europe champion. That should be a fascinating contest, but the question, of course, has to be, can Josh Files make it 2 from 2? Or can Giacomo Altoe and Gabriele Tarquini and the rest do anything about it? Well, here's some of the highlights from race 1. So enjoy these as we head out to the end of this programme. We hope you've enjoyed it. A very action-packed first race, and of course, it is now advantage Josh Files at the top of the points in the TCR Europe Trophy. Now the question remains, from 10th on the grid, what can he do? And will the likes of Giacomo Altoe, Gabriele Tarquini, Aurelian Comp and more do anything to stop him? Thanks for watching. It's great to have you here this weekend at Adria International Raceway. From myself, Scott Woodward, and everyone here in Italy, thank you very much, and we'll catch you later on for race 2 of the TCR Europe Trophy of 2017. But until then, bye for now. Thank you, and thank you, if it's still on air, to everyone that's watched that first stream, and hope you enjoyed it, and we will be back later on for race 2. And of course, as we said, the question is going to be, is Josh Files going to take the European title, or will anyone else be out there to take it from him? So join us next time, but thanks for listening, and we'll see you later on this afternoon for race 2. Bye for now.